Welcome to the Inspiring Ability podcast. I'm Angela Irwin, your host. And today I am joined by Michelle Wagner. Michelle is the mom of a 14-year-old bilateral cochlear implant recipient. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Angela. I'm very thrilled to be here today.
I'm so excited to talk to you for a number of reasons, but the main point of what we're trying to do here is to put inspiring stories out into the world. And I think your and Mickey's story is inspiring on multiple fronts. I think we get to choose our attitudes and our responses to what life hands us. Doesn't feel like it sometimes in the moment, but in reality, we do have that opportunity. And I think, as mentioned, I think you and Mickey, your story is just incredible on that front. So first of all, though, I would like to say a huge congratulations to your latest book, Mickey on the Move Farming.
Thank you.
You went like Amazon bestseller like almost overnight, didn't you?
Yeah. It was shocking, to be honest. And before the book was even released, it won 3 awards, by Literary Titan, and the Amazon bestseller was just quite a great surprise.
That is so fantastic. And I definitely want to get more into that. But first, I would love to have you take us back more to the start of the journey and, the hearing loss, deafness / cochlear implant journey. If you would share a little bit about that.
Sure. My son, Mickey, we adopted him from Russia, and he was 18 months old. And they told us he had ear infections. And we brought him home to California and realized shortly thereafter that he had an issue with hearing and tried hearing aids, and that was unsuccessful. So we got in the fast track and went to the best hospital out here. And the audiology team there, we discovered he was completely deaf. And they had us make a decision whether we wanted a hearing and speaking child or a signing child. And Mickey's dad and I decided together that we wanted to give him every opportunity that we could. And we decided to put him in line for bilateral cochlear implants. He was FDA approved, and it took about a year and a half for him to finally get implanted, and then the activation process. But now he is 14 and he is thriving and hearing and speaking, and we have reading coming along. Just great, very active boy.
Oh, that's so fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. What would you say was probably the most challenging part of that journey?
The most challenging part, when I look back now, I think, how did we get to this point? It seems, just it's incredible. In the beginning, sort of accepting everything and what the road ahead. But I think, as you mentioned earlier, attitude is the number one, important factor in dealing with anything that life throws at you. And just, we accepted it. And probably the physical operation was the most challenging, bringing this baby home with this huge bandage around his head, and knowing they, cut into his head and all that. And he's, now got this device inside there, and, that was a challenge. And, but one definitely worth taking.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting when we, think about it. I think it's very common, no matter what someone goes through, in the heat of the moment, in the thick of it, you just, I think, part adrenaline, like just something kicks in and you're like in survival mode, and you're just like, we're whatever the thing is. And then it is always interesting to sort of look back and go, wow, how did we do that? So what is something that you wish that more people knew, the general population knew, about living with hearing loss or about cochlear implants in general?
I wish education is, what I wish they knew. And that Mickey does here, he does speak. It's better to slow down. And I think that's a general message, for life, especially right now. That's advice I give myself every morning, is try and slow down. And, everything just takes a little care, love, tenderness, and patience. And, I encourage everybody, every experience is an opportunity to learn.
That is so beautiful. Every opportunity or every challenge is an opportunity to learn. And that slow down message is really important as well. Like you said, so timely. There's so much happening in the world on a daily basis. And it's important that's a wonderful message to share with people. And also interesting too, when you mentioned about when you first brought Mickey home and going through that process, is I think a lot of people don't realize until hearing loss impacts their own family that 90% of babies that are born with deafness or hearing loss are born to normal hearing parents. So that's almost like sort of that dual thrown into the fire, because you're trying to learn all of this information about hearing loss and options and all of that, but you're also on the emotional side for the child as well, and what's the right thing. I can imagine as a parent it's even more challenging to go through that, because you're making that decision, but that is what parents are here to do.
Yes.
So switching gears a little bit. So tell us about how Mickey on the Move got started. What was sort of the genesis behind creating the books? Because this is the second book of the second book that you guys have done. Is that right?
Correct. And I do plan to make it a series. It's going to be a series. I think my next book will be Mickey on the Move, athletics, since he is so active and loves so many sports. He's very passionate about a lot of things, as am I. We have a lot of passions, a lot of hobbies, and it's a great feeling. How it got started was during COVID. I have had a friend for a long time. She's also an author of children's books, Marnie Schneider. And she writes books, that encourage kids, to play sports and things like that. They're mostly football orientated and just giving everybody courage and enthusiasm. And, she said, I haven't done a book on the 49ers San Francisco yet. She's like, it would be great if, I had Mickey as a character, because we're sports enthusiasts, like all the way. And she said, I'd love to have Mickey in a character when I write my book about the 49ers. And she said, but I think he needs a book first. And I've always felt education is the core of everything in life. And if you're educated, and it's something that's really lacking, education about everything. And if you just can give people the tools and understanding, or a background, life can be so much more calm. And there's less frustration in the world. And I really wanted a way for people to understand that Mickey's a typical kid. He's wearing this device on his head, and just like anybody wears glasses or braces or walks with a cane or something, we're all human. We're all only human. And education is definitely the forefront of my writing. And I just, I was homeschooling and working from home at the beginning of COVID. And I just said, I'll just try this. I'll take a stab at it. And there was Mickey on the Move, the first book. And Marnie kind of helped me out with finding an illustrator, and she connected me with her publisher, and the excitement was overwhelming. And it was intimidating to think, but then there I was, an author, and then it started getting awards, and I had to do a second print and a third print. And I'm just overwhelmed by the response. And Mickey is just so proud, so proud. And in the first book, there is an illustration of how the cochlear devices, looks in your head and out your ear. And it's been a wonderful tool for schools now, communities. And as I mentioned, the overwhelming support that I've received through this entire process has, I have profound gratitude for everything involved.
Oh, wow. There's so many wonderful lessons just within that to unpack. So first off, having the openness and the curiosity, I agree with you. Education is such a crucial component. And the fact that, you were trying something that you'd never done before, but you're like, okay, you're going to feel all the feelings, right? You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel, maybe some self-doubt and like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But that you persevered. And that's such a beautiful lesson to share with people, because we all get nervous. That's just the way the brain works, when we're getting out of our comfort zones. But you got, your story of the story illustrates that just going forward with that, like you mentioned, you had always felt, there's always sort of a knowing inside, and it's just when we take that action, amazing things can happen, which is obviously demonstrated by the success of these two books, which is just incredible. And, Mickey should be so proud because, as you said, like being able to have a tool in a book form to go into other classrooms that of other, kids that might have cochlear implants, because kids are curious, right? They want to know, even adults. I wish we could take, we can, I guess we can share the book with more adults, because they need to also learn about cochlear implant technology, or even on the greater scale, just that, having something a little bit, not typical doesn't mean that we're not capable of doing whatever we want, whatever we set our mind to. And I think, to me, that's what, when you shared the book with me before it was released, that was what hit me in the heart, was like, this is going to be so inspiring for other people. And it goes aside from hearing loss. It's just, it is relevant for anyone who feels differently in any way. So that's just fantastic. So you mentioned turning into a series, and that's so cool. So Mickey will continue to be on the move. So we look forward to that. I just want to say, so for those of you listening, Michelle reached out to Joyful Life Cochlear Implant Fund. I got an email unsolicited, and I will tell you, it felt like Christmas morning. So generously offering to donate 100% of the proceeds of Mickey on the Move farming to the Joyful Life Cochlear Implant Fund. I'm getting teary just saying it, because we're a brand new organization. We're tiny. We're not even 2 years old, in a time where there's a lot going on, from inflation and other places that you could potentially donate money. And receiving that email was just like a sign to me, at the moment we have more requests than we can fill. And receiving that email, just like I said, unsolicited, falling from the sky, was just like, that's a sign. Just keep going. For me, to just keep going with the organization. We'll figure something, we'll figure it out. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of my board of directors, we're so grateful for your very generous donation.
I'm grateful, and it gives me no greater joy. And I find nothing else, more important than to give people the same opportunities that Mickey received.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. What would you say to others who, as we close out our time, what would you say to others who might be feeling differently or less than in some way?
I would say sky's the limit, and our differences make us unique. And it's good to be unique. It's good to be special. And sometimes when we have differences, you know, for instance, my eyesight is, you know, has always been pretty bad. So I wear glasses, now contacts, but my sensories, you know, my taste and my smell is really strong. And for Mickey, you know, he has no hearing, no natural hearing, but his eyesight is incredible. And we can all help each other in this world. Our differences, like I said, make us unique. And that's why, and you know, it's what makes the world go round. It's how we help each other out. And by helping others, we help ourselves. And no one person is exactly the same. No one problem is exactly the same, but we can all thrive from encouragement, and everyone's achievements are, you know, outstanding. Everyone's own personal achievements and every goal that you meet makes us who we are. And it's very important to have empathy and show love and respect and, you know, cheer each other on.
Excellent. So wonderfully said. And I think that's something that we, as you said, our differences are what makes us unique. And we should, you know, share more of that, or because it is, you know, we're not meant to be like anyone else. And I think oftentimes in our society, especially in the era of social media, we feel like, oh, we're supposed to look or be or act or whatever a certain way. So it's so wonderful to have this inspiring message to share, that that's not the case. You know, we all have our differences and our special talents and things that we can add to the world. And like you said, when we bring that all together, it's just amazing.
Yes. We can all harmoniously collaborate to bring more, as I see in your background, joy to life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's so beautifully said. I can't think of a better way to end the conversation than that.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much for being here and sharing your and Mickey's journey and this exciting the process that you've gone through. And it's happened very quickly, like with 2 books since COVID. That is amazing. And again, I think that highlights just when you have, you know, something in your heart that you want to share with the rest of the world. If you just start taking that action, it's amazing what can unfold. And you guys are just a beautiful example of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
And thank you, Angela. And I wish everyone well. And I say, whatever you're thinking, just do it.